Tonight on CTV News at 6, his death is sparking outrage in Toronto.
To have my baby taken from me so violently.
One day after his burial on Manitoulin Island, a vigil for a young boy in Toronto. They are in a celebratory mood.
Just having that soft introduction really makes parents aware of what's available in the community.
We take you to a street party hosted by the Social Services Board in the Soo. And testing new technologies.
That's the only place right now in Canada where we do these stratospheric zero-pressure balloon flights.
Liftoff at the Stratospheric balloon base in Timmins.
CTV News at 6 with Tony Ryma and Rick Wyman with weather.
Good evening. So glad you could be with us on this Thursday, one day after he was laid to rest on Manitoulin Island. Holly Roy spoke today about the death of her son. He was killed by a stray bullet in their Toronto apartment last weekend. CTV's John Woodward has her story.
Shouldn't have happened to him.
Holly Roy sharing her devastation now that her 8-year-old son, Javay Roy, is dead.
And to have my baby taken from me so violently. I can't get my mind around it. I can't.
Javay hit by a stray bullet that tore through a window at this apartment complex on Martha Eaton Way and struck him as he lay in bed with his mom over the weekend. Yesterday, Javay was laid to rest in their home community on Manitoulin Island, mourned in a funeral procession.
That was his sanctuary, his space. He cried every time he had to come back to the city. He was free, you know, he wanted to be free. He was such sweet energy. He was so good.
Today at that apartment, friends and supporters gathered for a vigil to remember him and call for change. Toronto homicides are down substantially this year compared to last, but that's small comfort to the parents who have lost children to violence that has claimed 15-year-old Jack Jack in June, 16-year-old Yonadab Dar in March, and back in 2020, 12-year-old Dante Andreata. Javay, at 8, was younger than all of them, a death that has shaken even Ontario's premier.
But I'll be all over this one. It's a heartbreaking story. Poor boy and the family.
The family's online fundraiser is so far at some $75,000. That's paid for funeral expenses. Roy wants the remainder to go to a project in Javay's name.
My name is Javay. I am 6 years old.
Even 2 years ago, he was speaking out against gun violence himself.
Being nice.
His brother is a survivor of gun violence. His sister's been threatened by gun violence.
After the unthinkable, Roy wants his death to be a wake-up call.
Nobody should feel the pain I feel is undescribable. It's undescribable.
And she wants everyone to remember his name.
And that was John Woodward reporting. A Kasheshawan First Nation man has been arrested and charged with possession of child pornography and luring following a police investigation. Anishinaabe-Yaski Police Service executed a search warrant at a residence in the 0 to 100 block of Amisk Street early yesterday morning. Police say a number of electronic devices were seized. The 28-year-old suspect was released with conditions along with a future appearance date. The union representing workers at the Canada Revenue Agency is launching an online campaign to denounce staffing cuts. The president of the Union of Taxation Employees says job cuts over the last year have already caused delays, long wait times, and dropped calls. The campaign, named Canada on Hold, aims to get the government to stop the cuts and rehire employees. The union says Ottawa is trying to bring staffing down to pre-pandemic levels, but that the CRA was short-staffed at that time. The agency's plan expects the number of full-time employees to drop from nearly 51,000 this year to less than 48,000 by 2028. The Canadian Space Agency is working at the Timmins Stratospheric balloon base this month. It's launching payloads to test new technologies, conduct science experiments, and take measurements.
The following is a message from the Canadian National Public Alerting System.
Ontario Amber Alert in effect. The Peel Regional Police have requested an Amber Alert on August 21, 2025. Victim 1 Zaid Rahman, 8 months old, boy, Middle Eastern. Suspect 1 Shahzaib Meeman, 40 years old, male, Middle Eastern. Suspect vehicle is a 2023 grey Nissan Rogue, other license plate CZLM113, Ontario. Last seen in Brampton. If observed, call 911 https://amberalert.up.ca.
Collect their data.
This team of Queen's University students, along with dozens of other scientists and academia, are working to ensure their experiments will withstand what it could endure in the stratosphere.
The telescope itself is a radio telescope.
Queen's will be launching its radio telescope for the first time into the stratosphere to learn if it will be able to capture quality photographs.
We think actually a telescope that's on a balloon that moves can actually improve the quality of the images that you get and make better images of the regions around black holes at the centers of nearby galaxies.
It's one of several Canadian payloads from various universities and industries.
We've got 6 different Canadian experiments that are going to be flying on this flight, hopefully early next week, depending on weather and the conditions. So they were basically getting ready, preparing the gondola for integration of all the payloads. They were adding some crash pads underneath the gondola, which really takes some of the impact on landing.
A total of 10 balloons will be launched during this year's Stratoscience month-long campaign, which wraps up on September 10th.
When the balloon lands, we have a recovery team that goes out and collects everything. They bring back the gondola with all the equipment. They bring back, even the envelope gets brought back, so everything's brought here. And it's up to the individual payload, so the university or industry, whoever is designing their payload, to take that back, download their data, analyze it.
Since opening in 2013, the Canadian Space Agency says this base has supported nearly 100 experiments and involved over 500 researchers and students from across the country. Lydia Chubak, CTV News, Timmins.
A vehicle fire and a serious crash has closed Highway 17 between Marathon and Terrace Bay in northwestern Ontario. The collision involved 3 vehicles. The highway is still closed despite the crash happening early this morning. OPP are uncertain when it will reopen. One person was taken to hospital. For more on this story, head to our website, CTVNewsNorthernOntario.ca. There are 3 forest fires burning in the northeast region right now. All of them are either under control or being held. According to the Ministry of Natural Resources, a 0.3 hectare fire north of Espanola is now under control. The MNR says a fire on the south shore of Diamond Lake in the Temagami area, which sparked late yesterday, is also under control. Plus, there's also a forest fire southeast of Temagami near Ottertail Lake. It's being held at this hour. And some good news today concerning 2 massive wildfires that had been burning in northern Ontario since May. Ontario Forest Fires posting today that the fires, Canola 20 and Canola 32, are now out. Those fires measuring just over 36,000 and 7,700 hectares respectively. The agency sending out a huge thank you to the hundreds of personnel who helped in the firefight. And it's time for our first check on weather. Heat and humidity was the order of the day. With more on those conditions, here's CTV's Amanda Hicks filling in for Rick Wyman.
Thanks, Tony. Yeah, it's feeling more like a steam room and less like a pleasant summer day out there. That's for sure. What a difference a couple of days makes. We began this week with some cooler conditions, and now it feels hot and humid out there once again. And we're going to have another round of hot and humid weather tomorrow to begin the weekend. A last hurrah, so to speak. And then by the time the weekend starts, that's when we start to see some below seasonal temperatures start to move in. Some relief for some. More details coming up a bit later on. Tony.
Thanks, Amanda. Someone broke into his house. Still to come on CTV News at 6. Now the Toronto area homeowner is being charged for using excessive force. First, though, we are off to Sault Ste. Marie and the International Bridge. This is a live webcam look at the bridge heading north into Canada. It's 25 degrees in the Sault. We are back in just a few minutes.
When you see it happen, send it to CTV News. Text 10400 from your screen to ours. Text 10400.
A yearly event in Sault Ste. Marie took place this afternoon, offering plenty of fun for kids. It also allowed people a chance to get to know local social services agencies. CTV's Corey Nordstrom has more.
With just a few weeks until the young ones are back in the classroom, the Sioux Social Services held its yearly block party to help kids make the most of the end of their summer holidays. The second annual event brought plenty of games and sports together with face painting, food, and a number of vendors. Many of those booths, social agencies that don't always get to interact with parents.
It's really a soft touch point for parents to come out with their kids. And, you know, it's not a conversation that might be, difficult in nature when you're, bringing your kid to a barbecue and maybe getting their face painted or having something to eat. But just having that soft introduction really makes parents aware of what's available in the community.
The day of fun and relaxation was especially needed for local officials who recently returned from the Association of Municipalities of Ontario conference in Ottawa, a yearly opportunity to bring the needs of the Sioux directly to provincial ministers.
Things like physician recruitment is a big one, continues to be a big one year over year for us. There's the issue of the Port of Algoma that we're trying to develop. And then, along with more physicians and more economic development comes the need for more childcare spaces.
On all of those files, local officials say they felt they were successful in ensuring the province knows how dire the need for help is. They add that the conversations also allow them to plan better, to be in lockstep with the government. MPP Chris Scott has taken part in many of these discussions, but this is his first as an elected official.
Hearing directly from them, hey, we got to chat about that when we're down in Toronto again, or, let's connect to talk more about. Those things made me feel extremely encouraged that we weren't just meeting for 15 minutes and then hopefully doing it again sometime next year.
Bagnuco adds that delays of a funding agreement for the Sioux's Heart Hub was also brought up to the Minister of Health. They were told that there should be a clearer timeline on when that funding will come through in the next month. Corey Nordstrom, CTV News, Sault Ste. Marie.
For the first time in Greater Sudbury, the Syrian flag was raised at City Hall. A small group came out to mark the flag raising at Tom Davies Square. There are two flags associated with Syria. This one is called the Flag of the People because it represents independence following the toppling of the Assad regime last December. And today's date is the 12th anniversary of a deadly chemical assault by the Assad regime that killed more than 1,000 people. Organizers call the flag an emblem of perseverance, resilience, and hope.
This flag is now the flag that represents the Syrian people, because we were before, just like about 6-7 months ago, we had a flag that now represents the Syrian people. So it was nice to acknowledge that this is the flag of the people, raise it here, and allow the Syrians to now celebrate the new free Syria. And what that brings is hopefully democracy, freedom of rights, and human dignity.
Al-Zaran was just a boy when his family came to Canada in 2016. As his way of giving back, he aspires to be a doctor and will be studying at Nosson University this fall. A home invasion in Lindsay, northeast of Toronto, is generating a debate surrounding use of force and self-defense. A man was charged for allegedly attacking an intruder in his apartment in the middle of the night. CTV's Heather Wright has details.
In this town of 22,000 people northeast of Toronto, many here are only talking about two.
I heard, what happened to, Jeremy upstairs, and, from what I understand, someone, broke into his place while he was sleeping, and they attacked him, and he defended himself.
It all happened in the unit above Jesse Kalabik's tattoo shop early Monday morning. Police say they were called to this apartment for a report of an altercation. They say the resident, identified in court documents as Jeremy McDonald, woke up and found an intruder in his home. A fight ensued, and the alleged intruder, identified as Michael Kyle Breen, was airlifted to a Toronto hospital with serious injuries.
I think what he did was justified. There's a lot of, controversy going on right now.
The controversy erupted after police charged both men. McDonald faces aggravated assault and assault with a weapon charges. Court documents suggest a knife was involved. Breen faces various charges, including possession of a weapon, break and enter, and failing to comply with probation.
Something is broken. I know if someone breaks into my house or someone else's, you're going to fight for your life. This guy has a weapon. You're going to use any force you possibly can. to protect your family.
Kawartha Police, which laid the charges, defended their decision. Under Canadian law, individuals have the right to defend themselves and their property. However, it is important to understand that these rights are not unlimited in Canada. The law requires that any defensive action be proportionate to the threat faced.
We really need to know the details of what happened inside that home.
Defense attorney Joseph Newberger says it's too early to know exactly what happened inside the apartment and says Canada does have self-defense laws despite the misinformation circulating online.
We do have sufficient self-defense laws that are broad enough that if an individual comes in with a knife or a gun and you are at serious risk of bodily harm or death, you can respond with lethal force.
Court documents show there was an arrest warrant out for Breen, the alleged intruder, at the time of this incident. Once he's released from hospital, he will be held in custody pending a bail hearing. Meanwhile, McDonald will be in court at the end of September. Heather Wright, CTV News, Lindsay, Ontario.
Back now for a check on the current conditions. Here's Amanda.
Thanks, Tony. We saw some hot and humid weather out there across much of the region, up between 31, 32 degrees, feeling like with the humidex out there. And so we've got another day on tap to feel hot and humid before the rain starts to settle in across the region. But looking at things out there right now, it's starting to cool off a little bit as we head into the evening hours. Let's take a closer look with the current conditions. So let's begin with Moosonee, Cochrane, Timmins, and Kapuskasing. We've got mix of sun and clouds, some cloud coverage as well there. Some light rain falling in Wawa. Wawa seems to be the coolest area, 18 degrees. Mix of sun and cloud in Sault Ste. Marie and Chapleau, sitting at 24 degrees there. Mix of sun and cloud in beautiful Parry Sound, 25. And then some sunshine in Kirkland Lake and Temiskaming Shores. And then finally, some sunshine in Elliott Lake and Gore Bay, and 25 in Espanola and Greater Sudbury. Tony, that was the current conditions.
Thanks, Amanda. Imagine being a fly on the wall. Next on CTV News at 6. What did Prime Minister Carney talk to President Trump about recently? And with China adding tariffs on Canadian canola, what is the government's next step? Canada's Foreign Affairs Minister and her U.S. counterpart met in person for the first time today. The two discussed the wars in Ukraine and Gaza and countering China. Then the Prime Minister and President spoke by phone. CTV's Judy Trin reports.
This is the first in-person meeting between Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Foreign Affairs Minister Anita Anand. The State Department says the two discussed Haiti, Hamas, peace negotiations between Russia and Ukraine, and countering China. The U.S. trade war wasn't in the readout, but analysts say it likely loomed over the talks.
In Donald Trump's world, everything is linked to everything else. And so if Canada's in a place of disagreement with the U.S. on Ukraine or on Gaza or on Haiti, then that's not something that will be helpful to the negotiations.
An example of this, on July 31st, Trump posted that Canada's intention to recognize a Palestinian state would make it difficult to make a trade deal. A day later, Trump imposed 35% tariffs on Canadian goods not covered under the North American Trade Agreement. Earlier this week, Anand traveled to Finland to meet with Nordic foreign ministers to discuss how to support Ukraine's push for security guarantees. Before the meeting, CTV News asked Anand if U.S. trade tensions put pressure on Canada to align with American interests.
The work that we're doing together is to ensure that the dialogue between our two countries along multiple issues remains open and strong. And thus far, we have had this very strong relationship.
Anand didn't answer questions about the state of trade negotiations, but today, some movement as the Prime Minister spoke to the President. The readout describes their conversations as productive and wide-ranging. They discussed trade challenges and long-term peace and security for Ukraine. The Prime Minister's office says the two leaders agreed to reconvene their conversations. Meanwhile, Carney is planning to travel to Mexico in mid-September to meet with President Claudia Sheinbaum. The two plan to find common ground so they can fight back against Trump's trade war. Judy Trin, CTV News, Washington.
Saskatchewan Premier Scott Moe is meeting with the federal agriculture minister today to discuss the future of the Canadian canola industry.
We're going to go to China. We're hopeful that the federal government will have representation alongside of us, and we're hopeful that we'll be able to support them in putting an end to, some of these trade tariffs that we see.
In addition to today's meeting, Moe said Canada would be sending representatives to China after that country imposed a tariff of nearly 76% last week on Canadian canola, dropping the price and value of one of our country's most valuable crops. Russia launched one of its most intense attacks on Ukraine overnight, killing one person and injuring nearly 24 others. Buildings in western Ukraine were damaged in the attack. 570 drones and at least 40 missiles were used in the attack, one of which targeted a U.S.-founded electronics manufacturer near Ukraine's border with the European Union. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov today warned that Russia does not agree with the push by European leaders to create security guarantees for Ukraine made at the recent summit in Washington. Lavrov did say that Russian President Vladimir Putin is ready to hold talks with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. Now to the latest on a huge storm threatening parts of the U.S. East Coast. Hurricane Erin battered North Carolina's Outer Banks, packing strong winds and massive waves, causing some flooding. The storm caused threatening surges under beachfront homes and flooded part of the main highway. It's now slowly moving away from the East Coast. Forecasters predict Erin will peak sometime today, but it could regain strength once again and become a major hurricane. However, the storm is not expected to make landfall along the East Coast before turning farther out to sea. The Israeli military has called up 60,000 reservists as it begins the first phase of its highly contested plan to seize control of Gaza City. It's a move that is getting condemnation from some European and Western governments, including Canada. Our Foreign Affairs Minister has joined a growing number of leaders, including those from France, Japan, and the UK, condemning the plans. They say they're unacceptable and a violation of international law. In a statement, the ministers say this plan does not benefit Israelis. The decision by the Israeli Higher Planning Committee to approve plans for settlement construction in the E1 area east of Jerusalem is unacceptable and a violation of international law. Israel gave final approval Wednesday for the controversial project in the West Bank that would effectively cut the territory in two. Palestinian rights groups have said the endeavor would destroy hopes for a future Palestinian state. Settlement development of the area known as E1, which is a tract of land east of Jerusalem, has been under consideration for more than 2 decades. And there's more news still ahead, but first, here's your full weather forecast with Amanda.
Thanks, Tony. Yeah, we've got one more day of hot and sticky weather out there before we get some relief by the time the weekend approaches. And we do have some precipitation on the way as well. Let's look into it with the forecast radar. We've got that pocket of precipitation right around Kapuskasing and Timmins. And in terms of how much rain we're going to get, it's more so the northern half of our broadcast region that we'll be seeing around 16 millimeters of rain, depending on where you are. And then by the time we get to Saturday night there, it's just going to be scattered showers across the board there. But overnight, though, we are going to see some pretty comfortable temperatures. Saw some hot and humid conditions out there today. It is going to feel much cooler overnight. Chance of showers in Sault Ste. Marie and Timmins, mainly cloudy skies in Temiskaming Shores, between 14 to 15 degrees overnight. And then in Moosonee, chance of showers as well, 16 with a risk of thunderstorms there. Clear skies in Gore Bay and Parry Sound, and some pretty comfortable temperatures, so pretty good for sleeping overall. 7-day forecast starting with Sudbury, Nickel Belt, 26 for tomorrow with a mix of sun and cloud, feeling closer to 30 with the humidex. Chance of showers throughout the weekend. By Monday, high of 16 degrees, single-digit temperatures overnight there, and then by Tuesday, chance of some sunny breaks there, high of 19 degrees. For Sault Ste. Marie, Algoma, 26 for tomorrow with some sunny breaks, chance of showers feeling like 34 with the humidex, chance of showers throughout the weekend. But then by Tuesday, we see a mix of sun and cloud once again, high of 19. For Timmins, Cochrane, Kapuskasing, 24 for tomorrow, chance of showers throughout the weekend, continuing on into Monday to start the week there. Only a high of 14 degrees for Monday, but then temperatures start to turn around and we start to get closer to seasonal, which is about 22 degrees for this time of year. For Temiskaming Shores, Kirkland Lake, 26 for tomorrow, mainly cloudy skies, a little bit of sunshine there. Humidex feeling like 30, chance of showers throughout the weekend, a similar story across our region. And then by Wednesday, might have a chance of showers there, high of 18 degrees. Finally, for North Bay, West Nipissing, 26 for tomorrow, a mix of sun and cloud. Chance of showers throughout the weekend into Tuesday, but then we might see some sunny breaks. Then a mix of sun and cloud on Wednesday, high of 20 degrees. And then for today's weather pick of the day, it was sent in by Kitty Lalonde. She sent in this beautiful sunset from Engelhart. Look at those colors. I just love that. Hopefully there are still lots of sunsets in the future. There's still lots of summertime left, that's for sure. And for next week, Rick Wyman is back and he will be covering HSN's 50-50 lottery draw for the North. Make sure you tune in to find out more. There's more news ahead. Stay with us.
Did they do enough? Travelers affected by Air Canada's work stoppage are saying no. CTV's Adrian Gobriel explains customers' complaints and looks at the failure in regulations designed to protect consumers.
The Britton family's European summer adventure ended with their scheduled flight home with Air Canada cancelled.
It felt like at every step of the way, instead of trying to provide a solution, it was, you can have a refund. Please have a refund. And we knew that that was really just a way of them absolving themselves of the responsibility.
According to the Canadian Transportation Agency's regulations, if an airline can't rebook you on their airline following a cancellation, a customer may choose a reservation from the next available flight that is operated by any carrier. The Britons found the next available tickets on a United flight from Italy to Kelowna. Air Canada declined to book them.
They said they didn't have access to it.
Stuck in Lisbon, Kyla Kumar also reached out to CTV News after Air Canada refused to rebook her family on a Delta flight home.
Very clear refusal to book us on another carrier.
CTV News also received an audio recording of an Air Canada agent refusing to rebook a customer because there was only a business class seat available.
You are required to put me in that space.
That is something you can take up with customer relations to see why is that not being offered, because on our end we have to maintain the same cabin.
If only business class seats are available on next available flight, they have to rebook you.
Passenger advocates say Air Canada is knowingly breaking federal regulations for financial gain.
There is sufficient ground here to lay criminal charges.
Somebody should be doing an outreach to the CTA and saying, okay, guys, how are you going to handle this one?
CTV News did ask the Canadian Transportation Agency what they're doing to hold Air Canada responsible for breaking federal passenger protection regulations. The CTA didn't directly answer the question, saying in part that their enforcement team is actively looking into the situation and will take appropriate action as necessary.
The CTA is supposed to be the regulatory body that protects Canadian citizens. And again, these things happen. And there's really been no improvements.
CTV News has given Air Canada 2 days to respond to our questions. They've yet to return our email. Adrian Gobriel, CTV News, Mississauga, Ontario.
An Ottawa man is lucky to be alive after rescue crews pinpointed his location using GPS.
We were very lucky that this caller had a cell phone that could map where he was exactly. There were no landmarks around, no buildings, nothing to pinpoint exactly where he was.
The man was trapped waist deep in a muddy bog just outside of the city. When he called 911 for help, dispatch was able to use the technology in his phone to track his coordinates. Crews used a tablet to find the location, and the man was safely rescued.
That circle is
a holding company owned by David Thompson of Thomson Reuters is looking to buy the royal charter that formed the Hudson Bay retailer, according to new court filings. The company is offering at least $15 million for the charter, which would then be donated to the archives of Manitoba. Hudson's Bay had previously announced it would seek court approval next month to sell the charter for $12.5 million to a holding company belonging to the Weston family, who had intended to donate it to the Canadian Museum of History. The court filing suggests the Weston's bid serve as a minimum bid. The charter was issued by King Charles II and gave the Bay rights to a vast swath of land spanning most of Canada and extraordinary power over trade for decades. A boy from London, Ontario with astronomical dreams has won a worldwide contest for a photo he recently captured of the stars above the city. Here's CTV's Sean Irvin.
There's this big primary mirror in the back which will reflect the light.
12-year-old Siddharth Patel has been mesmerized by the stars since he was 5. Toy figures hint at his dreams.
Yeah, I really want to be an astronaut when I grow up because I really love space and I want to be in it too, right?
Now from the ground, Siddharth has already begun his journey. Using telescopes, he captures high-quality images of celestial delights and posts them on his social media channels.
I'm trying to get the Jupiter or Mars in the field of view of this.
But it is this picture, taken with his mother's smartphone, that has garnered Siddharth worldwide attention in astronomy and photography circles. By manipulating image settings, he caught a passing comet streaking across the galaxy.
And with just the phone, I was really amazed that I could capture the Milky Way in such great detail in the comet.
So awesome, the photo won a People's Choice Award in an online contest by Dark Sky, a group with a mission to protect the planet from light pollution. It's a goal Siddharth shares. His award-winning photo offering perhaps the best example. Siddharth captured it in a rural area 30 kilometers outside of London. Only 1 hour after city light pollution, Kibosh plans to see the same sky with a powerful telescope on his back deck.
So that's why I became a dark advocate, so I can tell more people about this so that they can make a change.
Siddharth's deep passion for deep space is self-driven. In fact, neither of his parents was interested in space until Siddharth's fascination blossomed.
We know that this means a lot to him, so we try to support him.
Though that support comes with hesitation amidst the realization that Siddharth at a young age already has some of the right stuff to achieve his dream of traveling into space.
I'm definitely scared, actually, as a mom.
Yeah, I really think that the astronaut goal is really going to happen.
So really, the sky's the limit for you.
Yeah.
In London, Sean Irvin, CTV News.
How far would you go to find a lost wedding ring? As CTV's Sinjin Alexander tells us, one man dug through a dump to get back what he'd lost.
18 tons of rotting, steaming, stinking compost, and somewhere in this mound might be his wife's wedding rings.
She never takes them off.
But while washing her hands at a restaurant, Janine Van Ijseldijk realized they had somehow slipped off.
Left the restaurant. I'm like, I can't even wait for the check.
After a frantic search, the couple figured the rings must have slipped off into the compost. But by now, the garbage had already been collected.
I said I'd go to the dump in the morning and ask them if I could go through the compost pile.
He said, let me try. I said, okay.
In other words, just about everyone, including Denny Webster at the Mission Sanitary Landfill, thought this was a lost cause.
My brain was trying to figure out a way to tell him to go buy his wife new wedding rings.
However, admiring the dedication,
I was grabbing it from there.
Webster dug out smaller piles for Steve Van Ijseldijk's smelly treasure hunt.
When he has something on his mind, he makes sure he does it.
Bit by bit, he began to recognize his own waste. A popcorn bag, he yelled out.
Oh, there's my sausages.
And if you can believe it, he suddenly had one ring. And within an hour, he had them both.
And it was all slimy with popcorn and butter.
So he called his wife and told her the news.
She basically broke down crying, cried all the way home, she said.
Well, yes, because I know how much he loves me that he's willing to go through a rotten, stinky compost pile.
I don't think he really believed that he had found it, even though he had them both in his hands.
The chances of a happy ending were unlikely.
It's not the money, it's the sentimental value.
It's the money.
But Van Eiseldijk refused to believe the impossible.
I think he would have dove in here if I wasn't here.
St. John Alexander, CTV News, Mission.
Great story. If today is your birthday, you shared the day with the oldest living person in the world, Ethel Caterham. Turns 116 today. She's enjoying a quiet day, celebrating with her family from her care home in Surrey, England. Caterham was born August 21st, 1909 in South England, 5 years before the start of World War I. The title of the oldest person ever is held by a French woman who lived to be 122 years old. It's the first time Canada will be represented at this tournament. Still ahead on CTV News at 6. Underprivileged soccer players are heading to Norway to compete in the Homeless World Cup.
Clothing provided by Laura, Melanie Lynn.
There's a new partnership in Greater Sudbury that will raise funds to help local children connect with sports and recreation. Joining forces are the YMCA, Northeastern Ontario, and the charitable arm of the SW Sports and Entertainment, known as Play It Forward. That partnership was announced today at a media event and barbecue in front of the arena downtown. The agreement means proceeds from 50-50 draws at both Sudbury Wolves and Sudbury 5 games will allow children to participate in sports that they might not otherwise be able to afford.
There are a lot of families in our community here in Sudbury that do not have the financial ability to pay a full fee for their kids to go to day camp, John Island YMCA camp, overnight camp, and so, or even a membership, to come play basketball and floor hockey at the Y. So they need help.
The existence of four different sporting entities now, there's an opportunity for kids that maybe couldn't play soccer, couldn't play hockey, couldn't play basketball. I think, as was indicated by the YMCA, kids that will now have an opportunity to access playground sports and grow their participation from there.
Since 2016, the 50-50 draws for the Wolves and the 5 have generated $3 million, with half of that going to winners and the other half back into the community. To the OHL, and training camp for the Sudbury Wolves starts next Tuesday. Head coach Scott Barney says he will be looking to his younger players to step up and fill the void left by departing players.
We got a team that's lost, 3 defensemen that played, 28 to 32 minutes. That's a big hole of veteran guys, but I think some of our younger guys are looking to make a big step here, and some guys we've drafted in previous seasons. And for us, our motto always is the best players will stay, no matter where you're drafted. And I think that's huge for our players, knowing coming to camp that each player has an opportunity to make this club.
As for the other teams in the North, training camp kicks off Monday, August 25th for the North Bay Battalion. The Sioux Greyhounds will be making roster announcements Monday, but training camp won't start for the Hounds until the 27th. Top-level soccer players from around the globe are heading to Oslo, Norway this weekend for a competition like no other. Hundreds of underprivileged athletes will take center stage at the Homeless World Cup. And for the first time in a decade, Canada will be represented. CTV's Tim Brooke reports.
It's been a long 10 years, but Canada will soon be back at soccer's Homeless World Cup. Calgarian head coach Ashley Fraser can't wait.
This year there are 48 nations being represented with 63 teams and over 500 players coming. So it's a big year for Canada.
This weekend, 8 Canadian soccer players who are homeless or who have experienced homelessness will don the maple leaf in Oslo, Norway. They've spent the summer practicing and game planning virtually.
Their excitement and their passion is just it's just amazing so far. Everyone is so thankful.
All the players come from the Canadian Street Soccer Association, which has chapters across the country. Its goal is to use sport as a tool for inclusion and empowerment and to draw attention to housing and poverty issues.
For folks that have traditionally been excluded in our society, have faced immeasurable hardships, to have a place where they can also belong and and feel like they're a part of a team and feel like they're accomplishing something. We would wish that upon everybody.
Midfielder May Nakintu got her start in Toronto.
I came across a poster at the shelter and I went over to the place, to the field, and found there different people playing, and I joined them.
Humble beginnings that will soon take the global stage. Excited is an understatement.
Even up to now, at times I have to check myself and ask myself if this is a dream. I just feel so nice.
Tim Brooke, CTV News, Calgary.
Cinefest Sudbury released its long-anticipated film lineup for this September. The movies include Deathstalker, scored by Slash of Guns N' Roses. CTV's Madison Merrier reports.
Lights, camera, action.
We're going to be screening a few films multiple times. You know, typically we would only screen a film once. This year we just want to really create this atmosphere and remind people that Cinefest is one of Canada's largest film festivals by adding even more programming than ever before.
This 9-day film festival has been going on since 1989, putting lots of eyes on the screen and the North. An estimated 30,000 people are expected to come this year.
Would have never guessed that a film festival the size of Cinefest could find home in the city of Greater Sudbury. We were a mining, dominant community way back then. But right away, people embraced it locally. You know, now we look at our attendance, though, and 30% of our paid attendance comes from sources beyond 100 kilometers. So we've really developed that kind of niche and that profile as a tourism destination as well.
I think it just goes to show how much culture there is up here, that we have filmmakers who are from here who have their own stories to tell, that they could reflect their own experiences up north here, their own lives.
With many Canadians looking for staycations, Cinefest offers the perfect opportunity to get dressed up and support talented filmmakers from the North and abroad.
I think with Cinefest, that's what we try to do. We want to be able to expose people to films that they otherwise would not be able to access, that they're not going to necessarily see these right away on streaming sites or elsewhere.
With approximately 111 films coming to Cinefest Sudbury this September, the only thing left to do is grab your popcorn. Madison Merrier, CTV News, Sudbury.
Two popular streaming shows are back with more episodes, and Diane Lane stars in a new thriller. Here's David Daniel with this evening's Hollywood Minute.
This is a reset. A different company, a different culture.
Shakeups on The Morning Show. Jennifer Aniston and Reese Witherspoon are back for season 4 of the hit drama, which teases a new era for the titular news program. Marion Cotillard joins the large ensemble, which returns to Apple TV Plus on September 17th.
I think you are actually quite a violent man. You just don't want to kill me yet.
Fallout returns. We have your first look at season 2 of the video game adaptation, which sees Justin Theroux coming on board. The action-packed episodes are set in the post-apocalyptic city of New Vegas and land on Prime Video December 17th.
I wasn't sure if you'd remember me. I didn't at first, but I remember you now.
A mother's nightmare. Diane Lane is wary of her son's mysterious new girlfriend in the thriller Anniversary. This is a sneak peek at the upcoming film, which sees the actress sparring with Bridgerton star Phoebe Deniver. Anniversary arrives in theaters October 29th. In Hollywood, I'm David Daniel.
The fate of those empty spaces the Bay used to inhabit is still being debated in court. BNN Bloomberg's Marilla Fernandez has more.
There's more opposition to a BC billionaire's push to take over lease agreements from the Bay. The team overseeing the credit protection case for the failed retailer says it doesn't think landlords should be forced to accept Ruby Lou as a tenant. Those landlords say Lou's team doesn't have retail experience and the timelines for renovation aren't realistic. Here's a look at how the trading day ended. Another dip for the Canadian dollar, putting it under 72 cents U.S. West Texas Intermediate is up, hitting 63.52. Western Canadian Select up almost $1 to 49.42. And the TSX jumped 176 points today to 28,055. Those are your business headlines. I'm Marilla Fernandez.
Here are the current prices for some key commodities we watch. Gold down almost $10, closing the day at $33.3868 US an ounce. Silver up a quarter to $38.15. Copper up 2 cents, and nickel down a penny, ending the day at $6.71 US a pound. And Amanda's back now for one last look at your Friday weather.
Yes, and we've got one more day to sweat before things start to cool off as we head into the weekend. Let's take a look here. Sudbury, Timmins, Sault Ste. Marie, 24 to 26 degrees with chance of showers in Timmins, mix of sun and cloud in Sudbury and the Sault, feeling a lot hotter with the humidex in North Bay. Parry Sound's going to see some sunshine, 25, humidex feeling like 30. Temiskaming Shores and North Bay will see some more cloudy breaks, so it will feel a lot hotter than that, so enjoy the heat while you have it. Tony.
Thanks so much, Amanda. And finally, a BC woman says she got the surprise of her life when an unexpected visitor showed up in her home in the middle of the night.
Originally, when I saw the actual feather colours, I thought it was maybe an eagle or something. And then actually when it kind of turned itself around, I was like, oh my God, it's an owl, which was really surprising, and also, pretty lucky to be able to see one up close. And how many other people have had one in the living room? It was unreal, to be honest.
Sue Cook says this owl flew through the window of her North Vancouver condo early Wednesday morning and made itself at home on her couch. Her husband eventually ushered it onto their balcony and it flew away. And folks, that's CTV News at 6. I'm Tony Ryma. Thanks so much for watching. More news comes your way at 11:30 with Amanda Hicks. Good night.